Hello and welcome to another video. In this video I'm going to demonstrate how I make this Tunisian crochet short row motif. This has 12 sections, and because of that it comes out pretty much circular. There are 12 long rows, and all the other rows in between are short rows. I'm using a regular crochet hook. This is not a Tunisian crochet hook. The reason why is because I only have to fit this many stitches on here for this size, which is the size of a dishcloth. The size is 5mm. It's a US H8. I have wrapped some rubber bands around the end of the crochet hook and then slid a pin grip on it, partly to cushion my fingers and partly to keep the loops from falling off the end. I'm also using a pair of scissors and a yarn needle. For this video, I am using these two balls of yarn. These are Hobby Lobby I Love This Cotton 100% cotton worsted weight or medium number 4 size yarn, and this is the color white and this is the color papaya, and I do believe that this is no longer available. It's kind of a carrot orange color. So we will start with color A, which is the non-white color. We'll start by making a slip knot on the hook. We'll chain 5. Join with a slip stitch in the first chain to form a ring. We'll be working our long rows into that ring. Now we will chain 11. Okay, we have the initial chain 5 circle and 11 chains beyond that. Now we'll work our first long row. We're working in the back loops of the chain. We're not working in the back bumps. With this particular design, you don't want to work into the back bumps, because if you do, you'll get a lumpy, thick seam. I've discovered this works much better. So the loop on the hook counts as the first stitch, and we go to the second chain, insert hook, yarn over, pull up a loop, keep it on the hook, go to the next chain, yarn over, pull up a loop, continue that all along the chain. Okay, we had 11 chains. Let's see if we have 11 loops. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Very good. And now we have to drop a loop in the circle. So insert your hook in the circle and pull up a loop. Now, under normal procedures for Tunisian crochet, you normally yarn over and pull through one loop to get a chain, and then you yarn over and pull through 2, repeating that back to the other side of the row. However, in this pattern we are not doing that. We are decreasing on the first stitch of every row in this entire design. So yarn over and pull through 2. Actually, it doesn't decrease when you yarn over and pull through 2 on any of them except the first stitch. So yarn over, pull through 2 all the way until we have only 2 loops remaining on the hook. And this is where we introduce color B. So I make a loop of color B. I don't put a knot in it. I simply hook it over, loop it over the hook, and pull it through. Then I have 3 strands here. One of them is the tail of color B, which in this case is white. The other one is the working strand of color B, which is what I'm going to work with next. And the other one is the working strand of color A. So we need to pull the white one forward and move the others back out of the way. Now for row 2, we insert in the next vertical bar, pull up a loop, and then insert in the next vertical bar and pull up a loop until we have 3 loops on the hook. This is a short row. So yarn over, pull through 2, pull the white to the front, let the tail of the white drop, pull up the B, the color B, which is the orange, kind of carrot colored orange, and yarn over, and we have just changed colors. So to continue on with color B, color A, I'm moving the white out of the way. Okay, so the next thing I do for row 3 is pull up loops in the next 4 vertical bars. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, so that I have 5 loops on the hook. To return, yarn over, pull through 2, 2, 2, then I'm ready to change colors, so I put the orange to the back and bring the working strand of the white up to yarn over and pull through for the last stitch. Now I'm working with the white yarn. I've got 3 rows. In row 4 with color B, I yarn over and pull up a loop. In the next 6 vertical bars, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I should have 7 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 7. Yarn over, pull through 2, repeating that until 2 loops remain on the hook. Bring the white forward, pull up the orange from behind, yarn over for that last stitch. Now I'm going to use orange for my next color, so I get the white back out of the way. I have 4 rows. For row 5, I pull up loops in the next 8 vertical bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I should have 9 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Yarn over, pull through 2, all the way to the end. Put the orange to the back, bring the white forward, yarn over, pull through the last 2. I have now got 4 rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm sorry, I have 5 rows. Okay, ready for row 6. Pull up loops in the next 10 vertical bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I should have 11 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Yarn over, pull through 2, repeating back to the other end. Until we have 2 loops on the hook. Bring the white forward, pull up the orange from behind, and yarn over the last 2 loops. Yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. All right, I now have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 rows. I'm ready for row 7. I'm using the orange. On this row, I pull up loops in all the vertical bars and in the center ring. This is a long row. Okay, I've pulled up loops in all of the white stitches, and I have 1 orange one left, and pull up a loop in the center ring. I should have 13 loops on the hook. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. I'm sorry, I should have 12. I'm thinking of a different pattern. 12 loops on the hook. Got a tail interfering here. Okay, yarn over, pull through 2. Until 2 loops remain on the hook. Put the orange to the back. Bring the white forward. Yarn over with the white. Pull through the last 2 loops. Okay, I have now completed 1 wedge. We have a long row at the beginning, row 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then we've done row 7, and row 7 is also a long row. Now we will repeat this wedge. Actually, we will repeat rows 2 through 7 until there are 12 wedges. But we will omit row 7 on the last repeat because we're going to join the white row, which will be the last one that we accomplish, to the orange row. I have now completed all 12 wedges. So we have long rows 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And the last wedge I stopped after the white row because we're going to join that to the orange row. So my next step is to yarn over with both colors of yarn and pull them both out through the last 2 loops and cut enough yarn to do a hand sewn seam. Then pull both of those strands out of the last loop. And now, in order to make the seaming process as easy as possible on us, we're going to deal with this tail and this tail first. So I'm going to put the yarn through the yarn needle, this white yarn from the left side of the seam. I'm turning it over onto the back, and I'm going to weave in this end. And I'll go in a different direction as well. Snip it off. And the next step is to weave in this end. This is the tail of the original chain that we made. And for this, I am going to weave it around into the stitches that are in the center circle. And I'm trying not to pierce the strands of the stitches, but rather go under them so that I can use this thread, this yarn, as a drawstring to draw the circle up tighter. I go around about 1 1/4 or 1 1/2 times around the circle. Then I pull on the tail and it tightens the circle down. Then I go back the other direction a little bit and then weave in this end. Snip it off. Now I turn the piece back to the front, over again to the front, and the next strand of yarn that I'm going to work with is the white one, or color B, and the very last one that I work with is the orange strand, or color A, and that's what I'm going to use to do the seam. But this step, I've discovered, does a really nice thing to make the actual movements of the seam work better. So I've threaded the yarn into my needle, and I'm holding this white edge in such a way that I can see those back bumps along the edge of the seam. And I'm going to go into each one of those one at a time with my needle. And I'm going to use this also as a drawstring to stabilize the edge of this row because it's kind of wobbly if I don't do this. Now I can cinch that up pretty tightly, but I don't want to do it too tightly. Okay, I'm going to remove the needle, bring this white strand to the back for use later, and now I have a better lineup of the strands on the right, the bars on the right, and the bars on the left. Okay, now I'm taking the orange yarn, or color A, threading it into the yarn needle. Notice where it's coming out. It's coming out under or in the middle of the V, which is the first stitch of the last row. Then I want to connect it over here on the other side of the seam to the first stitch of the last row. I'm going to insert the needle front to back under those 2 horizontal loops of that V, pull it through to the back, then insert it back into this V over here on the right side, not only under this back loop, but also under this sort of hidden loop back there. Now be careful that you don't make an extra stitch here. You see how there are 2 orange stitches next to each other? Well, nothing else along the edge is 2 stitches of the same color. So we want to cause this loop, this joining loop, to completely disappear. So we pull on it a little bit until the white stitch looks like it's connected to the orange stitch the same way the other ones are around the edge. Now on the back I'm going to just make a stabilizing stitch, then turn it back to the front, and now I'm going to join the horizontal bars. They were vertical, but now they're horizontal. So the first vertical bar, or the first bar, is here, and I'm bringing my needle from the back of the work to the front above that bar, off to the right side of it. Then I move the needle under the bar, top to bottom, so that the strand that comes out of that matches the configuration of these, of all the strands. Do you see how they come up that same way? Then I find the corresponding strand on the other side of the seam, and there it is right there. Insert my needle top to bottom and pull the yarn through, and there's my joining strand, which I can't leave there. So I insert the needle the same exact place where that joining strand is coming out, and poke the needle all the way to the back of the fabric and pull on it, and there is that joining loop which we have to make disappear. So I'm holding on up here so that I don't pucker the fabric until, and then I pull on that joining strand until it completely disappears. So now do you see that we've got the same configuration all across the seam? So we're going to continue doing that same thing with each of these bars. Okay, I've worked my way down the seam until I have 2 bars left to join, and it can be a little challenging to find the corresponding bars over on this side. So what I'm going to do is take this white yarn that I'm using sort of as a drawstring, and I'm going to tug on it just a little bit without puckering the fabric, and see if that kind of helps get that mess pulled to the back. Okay, I'm going to come up behind and above the next bar, put the needle top to bottom, find the corresponding bar on the other side. Now if you have a question, use the concentric circle configuration here, and there it is. There's the bar that you want to connect. Okay, one more bar left, and notice that this is the line that you want to join, so that bar right there is the last one. And we want to follow this circle around and find the one to join it to, and that's it right there. Okay. So there you have the seam. I'm going to weave in the ends. Okay, this is the back of the piece. The ends are all woven in. This is the seam. It looks pretty invisible on the back. Look at it on the right side. You can still see the seam that's right there. Just a few hints on what you can do if you'd like to make it even a little less visible. You can use your needle to coax some of these strands over a little farther. You don't want to pull too hard because then it'll mess it all up. In case any of these strands along here are pooching out, you can turn it over to the back and kind of pull on the strands on the back and see if that will pull them to the back and make them less obvious. Okay, there's the seam. Next step is put on the scalloped edging. So I take a strand of orange. You can use white, you can use any color you want. I like to use the same color as color A for the edging, and I work into all of the same color stitches. So I pulled up a strand. I did not put a knot in it. I chained 2. I'm going to do a double crochet in the same stitch. Skip a white stitch, go to the orange, and do a slip stitch. Now I don't know if you noticed, but I'm using a mixture of yarn overs and yarn unders. Let me explain why. For the chain 2, I use a regular yarn over. For the double crochet, on the first stroke, I use a yarn under, and then a regular yarn over for the last 2 strokes of the double crochet. And then for the slip stitch, yarn under and continue on. And the reason I do that is because I've discovered that yarn can tend to unwind itself and be easier to split. And so adding in these yarn unders does keep the yarn more twisted. All right, I have worked my way around the perimeter, and I'm ready for the last scallop. So I'll insert, slip stitch, chain 2, double crochet, and snip the yarn, pull it out, put it into a yarn needle, and we're going to do an invisible join here. So I put my needle under the 2 front-facing strands of the V of the first chain. Pull the yarn through to the back, and then I go back into the same strand or same V where the yarn is coming out and put it under the back loop and the one that's kind of hidden behind there. And pull on it until it disappears. Turn it over to the back. Make a knot. And another knot. Pull rather snugly. And then weave in the ends along the bottom of each scallop for about 4 scallops. And go back the other direction. Snip it off. Okay, I'm finished weaving in the ends. This is the back of the piece. This is the seam along here. Turn it over. And there's the seam there. And there you have your finished Tunisian crochet short row motif in the shape of a circle with 12 wedges. Thanks for watching. Let's measure this. From side to side, it's a 7-inch circle, including the scalloped edging, which is a good size for a dishcloth. And it's nice and soft and dense, it's drapey, but not stiff. Very nice for a dishcloth. If you wanted to, you could make 2 of them and stitch them together along the edge with the scallop, the wrong sides together, and you could have a very, very nice hot pad. Thank you so much for watching. Please click the like button and subscribe if you're interested in seeing more videos from me. Goodbye.